everyone, John Henry here, slingshotfutures.com. Today we're going to be talking about channels and how to trade them. Now, a channel is probably one of the easiest ones to locate. It's one of the ones that most traders generally learn first, so it's pretty straightforward. Now, just to give an overview, maybe you haven't really traded many channels, or maybe you're just not that familiar with it. A channel is essentially when price is moving in a very unidirectional way, right? It's where both sides of it are parallel, meaning that if I were to draw support right here and resistance up here, they are parallel to one another and they will never converge. Converse to, let's say, a wedge where the points come together, or a megaphone where they go apart. This is where it keeps going, right? It's just one straight direction. And really the obvious way to look at it is say, oh, well, when it comes to lows, I want to buy, and when it comes to highs, I want to sell. But it's a little bit more complicated than that, right? There's more to trading a channel than just, oh, well, buy it when it gets to the low. Good enough, right? We need to wait for a little bit more confirmation. So, first of all, let's take a look at a couple different channel examples. Now, one of the best ways to trade a channel is exactly what we were just talking about: buy when it's at the low, sell when it's at the high, etc. But you generally want to go in the direction of the channel itself. So what I mean by that is, if in this case a channel is moving higher, that means that I would much rather be a buyer at the lows of a channel and taking profit at the highs of the channel, rather than selling at the highs of the channel hoping that it comes down, right? You're putting the odds in your favor. So in this example here, we have the euro, which is rallying higher. It's looking really good. We have a nice bull channel creating its way up, and we can mark that up with our channel tool here. So we have our channel grinding higher, and what we're looking to do is, when the market comes down to the lows, we want to find a buying opportunity. Now, in this case, it comes down to the lows, and just flat buying off of the lows, I'm sure a lot of traders will do that. I prefer to wait for a little bit more confirmation with a bull bar, right? Now, in this case, this bull bar ends up being almost back to the highs of the channel, so that's not good enough. I need to wait for a little bit more than that. Market comes back down, holds the channel again, giving another bull bar, and this one has plenty of room. You're buying at the lows of a channel. It's not way close to the highs of the channel already, and it's offering up a perfect ability to get in towards the bottom, third or so of the channel, and then allow the profit to be taken up towards the highs. Now you can see that a lot of traders are actually front-running their targets ahead of the channel. Putting your target directly on a channel isn't necessarily always the best way to do things. You usually want to front-run it a little bit and get out ahead of it. So a couple ticks ahead of it, that's where you start seeing some profit taking coming in, and it pulls back and actually tests the channel again and goes back up. You get the idea. So waiting for confirmation in these areas rather than just, oh, I'll just blindly buy it, is a little bit of a better approach to things in general, especially when it comes to pattern type trading. Now, the same could be said here. You have a nice bear channel working its way lower. You can mark that up here. Now, you can go really wide like this, or you could go a little bit tighter. Again, there is no right way when you're drawing channels or any type of market structure, but generally the way that you draw one side is the way that you want to draw the other. Now, the reason I'm drawing it this way is because it fits the best, and that's usually the way I draw most things, is for best fit. And that means that price action generally is within this pattern. Sure, it wicks outside of it, but all the opens and closes are inside of it, and that's the part that I care about, because drawing a channel like this, way out in the middle of nowhere, you might find some response there, and in fact it did find a response there, but then when you try to draw the lows, nothing really looks that good, nothing holds. It's just kind of a gross way to draw it. You can, it's just not my preference. So we'll use the hard SOP rules, right? This is the way that you're going to draw it, right? You draw it like this. You can see there's still a response there, but it never really came back up to the highs to give you a tradable opportunity. So because of that, when you start seeing this kind of in this area, I would rather go for best fit in this type of situation. You can see both actually did have a response, but this is the importance of waiting for a good reason to enter. Not every trade is going to work, but by waiting for a reason to enter, like a bear bar or a stochastic or whatever your preference is, jumping in underneath that allows you a static risk amount. It's a very small risk, and look at the reward, right? Look at the reward is down to the bottom of the channel. Look at the distance, the risk-reward differential, simply by waiting for a reason to get in, rather than blindly selling, right? If you were just to blindly sell this, that means that you're selling here. Where's your stop go? Next swing high, maybe, right? It could be, a minor swing high would be right here, but really the big swing high and area of interest is right there. Your risk-reward is terrible when you're doing it that way. So again, waiting for a little bit of extra confirmation. Now, a small caveat, an extra little tidbit here on why I wouldn't be selling this one in the first place. It blew off the lows of the channel. Whenever you have a bear channel that's moving down, and the market breaks through the lows of that is considered unsustainable movement. It's not something that the market will be able to hang on to for very long before correcting against it. The same would go for a bull channel. You have a bull channel going up, and the market breaks out higher. That is unsustainable movement. So this is a big clue right here that you should probably not look to sell the highs. Nice little clue to add to your tool belt there. But you'll find it where channels tend to show up pretty much everywhere. Channels are very common, and it's very frequent to find them. And, you know, here's another good example of another channel. You get the idea. They're pretty easy to pick out, and you could even subdivide this into another channel, and all of them are applicable. So really, the channel itself, because it's so common, I wouldn't necessarily say, oh, I'm a channel trader and that's all I'm going to trade, but they can give you some phenomenal clues to work with. Whether it's a huge channel, a small channel, a little bitty micro channel like this, it doesn't really matter. They all give you some good information. Just like the one that we were talking about over here and this blow off on the lows, don't look to potentially trade, and you could even, you know, potentially look to fade that. Wait and assume that it's a trap and say, okay, well, this could be potentially a trap, and look for further price action to the upside. The amount of options are limitless, of course, but that's the kind of information that channels can give you. They're phenomenal tools when used correctly and when you understand price action around those areas. So hopefully that gave you something to work with, something of interest, and personally, I love channels, and because they happen so frequently, they're pretty easy to find and train on. But make sure when you're looking at those extremes, use some of that information we talked about. When you're blowing off with the highs of a bull channel, look what happens afterward, and look how trappy things get, and how, you know, a lot of people get suckered in and then they get stopped out, and you can start using those to your advantage. Good information there. So, as always, if you have any questions, feel free to send me an email, jbrink@slingshotfutures.com. Underneath the video, click on the subscribe button, click the notification bell icon so you're notified every time one of these videos comes out. Until next time, we'll talk to y'all later. Have a good one.